So, ever since the Texans fired Brian Gaine a few days ago, there's been Texans fans, fans from other teams, even some people that cover other teams, calling the Texans stupid for firing Brian Gaine after, 17, 18 months. And there's even been some people that are calling the Texans dysfunctional. Now, I'm here to debunk all that. Now, the first thing I want to address is, the Texans interviewing Ray Farmer. He's a former GM for the Browns, like when the Browns sucked really bad. He's the guy responsible for drafting Johnny Manziel. So there's a bunch of people saying, oh my god, why in the world are the Texans doing that? The Texans are a dumpster fire. And to those people, I just want to say, learn the goddamn rules. Learn the rules in the NFL. In the NFL, there's a rule called the Rooney Rule. It's a messed up rule, but, it's there, and you have to follow it. What that rule is every team, whenever they're looking for a GM or a head coach, they have to interview at least one person of a minority ethnicity. And Ray Farmer is it. So, it might sound messed up, but the Texans aren't serious about bringing in Ray Farmer as a GM. And it's a messed up rule, but hey, it's there. It's supposed to give everyone a shot at being, a position of higher power. That's why it's there, but I feel like it's kind of a messed up rule, kind of like interviewing a guy just because you have to interview him, knowing damn well you're not going to hire him at all. And I'm pretty sure the guy knows that you're only interviewing him because you have to, I think it's a messed up rule, but hey, it's there and the Texans have to follow it. So that's why that guy got interviewed. The Texans aren't actually going to hire him. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is some of these people that are calling the Texans a dumpster fire don't seem to realize that there's a new owner in town. Cal McNair is the owner of the Texans now. It's no longer Bob McNair, and it's possible that Cal McNair maybe didn't even want Brian Gaine from the get-go, a couple years ago when we got him. But guess what? That wasn't Cal's choice to make then, because it was Bob McNair's choice. So, now it was Cal's choice to make, and he made the choice, hey, I don't like this guy, I don't think this guy can take us anywhere. Let's get him out of here, because whenever a new guy comes in, whether it's a GM, a head coach, or maybe even an owner, typically they clean house and they run things their way. And like I said, maybe Cal McNair didn't like Brian Gaine from the get-go, but we'll get more into that. Now, as far as Brian Gaine himself goes, a lot of people are saying, well, why did he get fired? You didn't do anything wrong. And yeah, very well it's possible, maybe he didn't do something that's oh my god, I can't believe he did that. But look at it this way. Maybe, just maybe, Cal McNair thought Brian Gaine sucked at negotiating. I mean, look at it this way. Since Brian Gaine got here, the Texans missed out on signing Trent Brown. They got outbid for him. They got outbid for Nate Soldier, Roger Saffold, Malcolm Butler, and even if you didn't want him here, he even got outbid for Tyrann Mathieu, and that was low-key a blessing in disguise, because Tyrann Mathieu for $14 million, totally not worth it. I also don't think the Trent Brown would have been worth it, or Nate Soldier. Maybe Roger Saffold would have been worth it. Malcolm Butler wouldn't have been worth it. And, it's low-key a good thing he got outbid, but the guy, he struggles negotiating. And want more proof? Jadeveon Clowney. Clowney isn't signed yet. So clearly, Brian Gaine has missed out on a bunch of players. He got outbid. He couldn't bring them in. And I'm not saying, any of these guys would have, been great for the Texans. Because let's be honest, all these guys, well, we don't know about Saffold and Trent Brown yet, but Nate Soldier and Malcolm Butler and Tyrann Mathieu, they would have been bad deals. But still, regardless, you got outbid for them, and now you can't even bring Clowney back in, you know? So maybe, you know, Cal McNair saw that and he said, you know, this guy's not good at negotiating. That's a problem, because when you're not good at negotiating, you can't bring players from the outside in. It's difficult to do so. And then you can't keep your own players. So he probably saw that and was like, you know what? We got to cut bait with this guy. Because, yes, Brian Gaine, 2018 draft was really good. This past draft looks promising as well, with a lot of players with a lot of potential. But at the end of the day, if you want to be a great franchise, you got to be able to do everything good. You can't just, you know, oh, yeah, he does this good, but he doesn't do that good. It's clear to me that Cal McNair wants to win now, and I said it in the previous video, which brings me to my next point. It's that Cal McNair wants to win now, while Brian Gaine was building for the future. Brian Gaine, you know, his draft, I liked his draft. But that draft, if you look at the player evaluations of the players Brian Gaine drafted, Titus Howard, development. Lonnie Johnson, development. Max Sharping, development. Even Kahali Waring, development. All these guys, they needed development. You do that if you're a team that won 2 games last year. The Texans were an 11-win team. Cal McNair was expecting Brian Gaine to go all out and do everything he possibly could to go win a championship this year coming up. Brian Gaine didn't do that. He was building a team for the future. So, in conclusion, Brian Gaine didn't screw the Texans over, but he also didn't do what Cal McNair wanted, and that's win now. Let's go win a championship. Our quarterback's on a rookie contract. Let's go do it. And honestly, initially, that's what I thought the Texans were going to do coming into this season, but it didn't happen. Now, the next thing. Why didn't the Texans fire Brian Gaine in January? Why in the world did they let him go through free agency and the draft? And okay, look, I get that 100%, because I thought that way as well, like a few weeks ago when the Jets did it. But when you look at it now, there's a new trend. In the past, GMs, head coaches, everyone got fired in January. You know, you were starting all over, new league year, whatever. You fire everyone in January. Now the trend is, you fire your head coach or your coaches after the season's over, which is in January. And then the GMs, now what they're doing is they're firing them in June after the draft. Why? Because this is a time where scouts and the front office start preparing to start scouting the college players. The college football season hasn't started yet. So why would you fire a GM in, say, January, bring in a new guy in January where he hasn't been through the process all season long of scouting the college players? It makes no sense. And that's the new trend in the NFL. I mean, the Browns did it a few years ago. The Chiefs did it. The Jets just did it like literally a few weeks ago. And I believe the Ravens also did it, if I remember correctly, with Aussie Newsome. So now the Texans did it as well. In fact, it is actually a smarter thing to do it now, because if you remember last time the Texans did it, the Texans got blocked from a lot of GMs, from interviewing a lot of GMs. And I'm talking about whenever Rick Smith left or whatever. Which brings me to my next point. Brian Gaine, get this, he was the 6th option. He was the 6th option. So last time the Texans made a GM change, whenever Rick left, the Texans didn't get their first option. They didn't get their second option. They didn't even get the third option. They got their sixth option. Before Brian Gaine, the Texans wanted a bunch of other guys, including Joe Douglas, who just went to the Jets. They wanted Nick Caserio, who apparently they're going to interview soon. They wanted Will McClay from the Cowboys. They wanted Monty Ossenfort. They wanted some guy from the Packers as well. And all these guys, both New England guys, were blocked by the Patriots, meaning we couldn't interview them. The Eagles guy was blocked by the Eagles. We couldn't interview him. And keep in mind, this because the season was still going on. This was in January. So the Patriots and the Eagles, they had the ability to block the Texans from interviewing these guys. And I believe the guy from Dallas, Will McClay, I believe Dallas promised him a promotion. And then the guy we wanted from the Packers, I think they gave him the GM job right then and there. I know he's a GM right now, but I'm not sure if they gave him the GM job to avoid him coming to Houston. So, in other words, Brian Gaine was the sixth option on the Texans list. The Texans didn't get Brian Gaine until they saw that all the top tier options were off the table because they were blocked from doing so. So, would you really stick around with a guy you really didn't want in the first place? You know? So, yeah. Okay, now, there's also some people saying it's Bill O'Brien's fault. Bill O'Brien got Brian Gaine fired. Just stop it. It is not Bill O'Brien's fault. I mean, Bill O'Brien's currently on the hot seat now. Brian Gaine getting fired makes it worse on O'Brien. He's on the hot seat. I mean, this does not benefit O'Brien at all. Like, O'Brien has been through 3 GMs. Rick Smith, Brian Gaine, and the new one. That looks terrible on Bill O'Brien's resume. You know what that yells to me? Dysfunctional, cannot work with other people. That wouldn't look good on O'Brien's resume, so it does not benefit O'Brien. And, you know, some people are saying, oh, there's a power struggle. If there really was another power struggle, O'Brien would have gotten fired. Why? Well, because there was a power struggle between Rick Smith and Bill O'Brien. And as we all know, Rick Smith is the godfather of Cal McNair's kids. So, he's essentially family to Cal McNair. Rick Smith is. And if there was another power struggle, Cal McNair would have been like, you know what? F this guy O'Brien. He couldn't work with Rick Smith. He can't work with Brian Gaine. You know, F him. He would have fired O'Brien. But it's clearly not a power struggle because O'Brien's still there. Now, the new GM, he's going to choose whatever coach he wants. Bill O'Brien, he might be on the way out. Even if the new GM is a Patriots guy, O'Brien is coaching for his job this season. I truly believe it is Super Bowl or bust for Bill O'Brien. No Super Bowl, you're out. I think that's how it's going to be. Now, another thing I've seen is, why don't the Texans fire Bill O'Brien right now? Well, the offseason already started for the Texans. They already did OTAs, already did minicamp, so there's really no point of, or minicamp's coming up, but there's really no point of firing O'Brien now. Like, would be a terrible timing. Firing Bill O'Brien right now would be throwing your season away down the drain before it even starts. So that's why Bill O'Brien isn't fired right now. And the last thing, Rick Smith. Is Rick Smith coming back? No. It's already been confirmed by multiple people that Rick Smith will not be coming back. He is staying with his family, taking care of his kids. So thank God for that. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys for today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.